Hello everyone, welcome to your course Nature and Properties of Materials, and this course is offered by Professor Vishak Bhattacharya from Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Kanpur. I'm your TA Alka Jangir from IIT Kanpur. So today we'll talk about polymers in week 4. So firstly we'll go through some sample assignment questions which will help you in solving your assignments. Then we'll go through some lecture notes. So first question is, which of the following types of molecular structure is present in the thermosetting polymers? Your options are linear polymer, branched polymers, cross-linked polymers and network polymers. So these are the types of polymers based on the how molecules are found in your polymers. So your answer will be for this one, cross-linked polymers. So in case of cross-linked polymers, there is very less crystallinity as well. These are thermoplastic in nature. These are thermosets, cross-linked, and linear and branched polymers, they act as thermoplastics. So these are the structures of polymers. In case of your linear polymers, there is end-to-end connection in monomers. So these are in linear type, which are thermoplastics, and in case of your cross-linked polymers, these are thermosets. So as written in explanation, thermosetting polymers are highly cross-linked, and thermosetting polymers, they often are called thermoset, and they are polymer which is obtained by irreversible hardening, known as curing of a soft solid or viscous liquid pre-polymer known as resin. Next question is, which of the following is an example of the thermoplastic material? So your options are, these are various equipments which are made of polymer, so you have to find out which of these is example of thermoplastic material. So your options are camera bodies and electric installation, electric plugs or automobile parts. So answer will be electric installation. So in explanation, bakelite and other resins which are thermosets are used for making electrical plugs, and in case of automobile parts as well and camera bodies, they also need very rigid and high temperature sustaining polymers, so these are made from thermosets. Next question is, which of the following monomers can be used to create a polymer through addition polymerization? Your options are ethylene, polypropylene and styrene, or all of the above. So these are the monomers, ethylene, propylene, styrene. So using which monomer you can create a polymer through addition polymerization. So in case of addition polymerization, you won't be getting any condensation type of reaction in which formation of some molecules such as H2O or NH3 will take place. So here all of these, they can be used for making addition polymerization. So for addition polymerization, you are required to have either double bond or triple bond in your monomer. So all these have that available. So in case of addition polymers, they are formed when monomers bond to each other without the loss of any other atoms. And some of the examples are polyethylene, which is made from ethylene monomers, and it is used for packaging films, toys, bottles, coatings, etc. And in case of polypropylene, it is made from propylene monomers used for hinges, molding, rope, outdoor carpeting, etc. Polystyrene is made from styrene monomer and it is used for transparent containers, foam cups, insulation, etc. PVC, polyvinyl chloride, made from vinyl fluoride monomers and used for pipe, tubing, raincoats and other purposes. Now, fourth is chain polymerization mechanism may occur due to, your options are free radical, cationic, anionic or all of the above given options. So, these are various mechanisms of polymerization. So, in case of chain polymerization or addition polymerization, which of the mechanism is used? So, answer will be all of the given options. So, here an explanation. So, in case of free radical polymerization, it is a type of chain growth polymerization along with anionic, cationic and coordination polymerization. And free radical polymerization is a polymerizing approach by which successive addition of free radicals take place to form a polymer unit. Next up, in fifth question, if a sample of polystyrene has a molecular weight of 100,000 gram per mole and each repeating unit has a molecular weight of 104 gram per mole, what is the degree of polymerization of the polystyrene sample? Options are 960, 9600 or 10,000 or 100,000. So, answer will be 960. So, for degree of polymerization, it is defined as the number of repeating units in a polymer chain. So, degree of polymerization is defined as number of repeating units in a polymer chain. So, and its formula is given as your Mn divided by M. Mn will be your number average molecular weight and M will be your repeat unit molecular weight. So, repeat unit molecular weight can be given as number of atoms times the atomic weight. So, here it is already given 104 gram per mole and your degree of polymerization will be 100,000 divided by 104, giving you around 960 as answer. Next question is, a polymerization reaction with 10 monomer units produces a polymer with a molecular weight of 1000 gram per mole. What is the degree of polymerization? So, your options are 1, 10, 100 and 1000. Answer will be 10. So, as I told earlier, the degree of polymerization can be defined as the number of repeating units in the polymer chain, and it is given that it is made from 10 monomer units. So, if it had asked what is the molecular weight of repeating unit, then you can divide 1000 with 10 monomer units. So, you will be finding out weight of the one unit, which will be 100 gram per mole. Next question is, the characteristics of condensation polymerization are given below. Your options are only carbon-carbon links present in the polymer structure, or use of bifunctional or polyfunctional monomers, or elimination of a small byproduct molecule. Which of the following is true? Whether all three are correct, or 2, 3 they are correct, or 1 and 2 are correct, or only third is correct. So, in this case, your 2 and 3, these statements are correct, because first statement says only carbon-carbon link. So this is not the case in case of your condensation polymerization. So besides carbon-carbon linkage, your polymer structure also contains atoms of oxygen, nitrogen, etc. at regular intervals in the main chain. For example, nylon 6,6, here you can see nitrogen is present in the chain as well. Next question is, which of the following polymer type is not classified on the basis of its application and properties? Your options are rubbers, plastics, fibers or synthetic. So all these are based on their applications except synthetic. So as on basis of origin of polymers, they are classified into synthetic and natural polymers. So this will be your answer. So synthetic polymers are classified on the basis of their origin and are known as man-made polymers. And there are two types of polymers, synthetic and natural. Synthetic polymers are derived from petroleum oil and made by scientists and engineers. Examples are synthetic polymers include nylon, polyethylene, polyester, Teflon and epoxy, while natural polymer occur in nature and can be extracted. For example, natural rubber, etc. are examples of natural polymers. Which of the following is thermostatic polymer? Your options are polystyrene, polyolefins, nylon or phenolic resins. So your answer will be phenolic resins. Phenolic resins, they fall under the clan of thermosetting polymers, and rest are thermoplastic polymers which can be softened repeatedly on the application of heat. Next question is numerical. So here a styrene butadiene random copolymer with an equal weight fraction of polystyrene, which has your glass transition temperature as 100 degrees Celsius, and polybutadiene, which has glass transition temperature as -100 degrees Celsius, shows a single transition peak. The glass transition of the copolymer is, your options are -37 degrees Celsius, -20 degrees Celsius, -47 degrees Celsius or -50 degrees Celsius. Answer will be -37 degrees Celsius. So here you have to use this formula where 1 upon Tg, Tg is your glass transition temperature of copolymer. So it will be equals to weight fraction of your first polymer monomer that you are using divided by T1. T1 will be your glass transition temperature of first copolymer. Second one is weight 2. This is for other polybutadiene here. And here temperatures are taken in Kelvin. So first you have to convert these temperatures into Kelvin. And as it is written as equal weight fraction is there, so you can take 0.5. So 1 upon Tg will be equals to 0.5 divided by 373.15 plus 0.5 divided by 173.15. So it will give you value of Tg as 236.54 Kelvin. So when you will convert it into degrees Celsius, it will be -36.6 degrees Celsius. So closest to this, your answer is -37 degrees Celsius. Now we'll go through some lecture notes. So first is the classification of polymer. So there are various bases for classification. First is based on molecular structure. So based on this, they are classified into linear, branched, cross-linked and network type of polymers. Based on origin, as I told earlier, natural and synthetic. Based on polymerization reaction, so they can be chain and step polymerization or addition or condensation polymerization. based on thermophysical behavior. So they can be thermoplastics or thermosets. Based on end use of applications, it can be plastics, elastomers, fibers and coatings, adhesives, films and foams. And some advanced polymers are ultra high molecular weight polyethylene and liquid crystal polymers and various others. Now firstly, based on origin, so a polymer is a large molecule composed of many repeated subunits. So as the name suggests, poly, which is for many, and mer is used for parts, units. So in case of natural polymers, the examples consist of cotton, silk, natural rubber, proteins, cellulose, starch, bone, leather, etc. And synthetic polymers, in this case you have synthetic rubber, bakelite, neoprene, nylon, polystyrene, polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, etc. These are the examples of some polymers that are used for various applications. Next up, you have classification based on molecular structure. First is linear. In this case, units are joined together end to end in single chains, and these may be some weak van der Waals forces or hydrogen bonding between the chains. These are soluble and fusible, and examples consist of high density polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, polystyrene, nylon and PMMA. In case of branched, you will be having branches of some polymers. Some chains will be branched in this and side branch chains are connected to the main ones, and these are more soluble and fusible. An example consists of low density polyethylene. So because of this branching, there won't be proper packing of these chains, leading to low density. Next you have cross-linked. So in this case you have adjacent linear chains are joined one to another at various positions by covalent bonds, and these covalent bonds, they make them insoluble and infusible. Network type of polymer, they have high cross linking and 3D type of network, and these are insoluble and infusible. Examples consist of rubber, polyurethanes and phenol formaldehyde. Next we have classification based on thermophysical property. So in this case, thermoplastics, they are heat sensitive, so if you heat it, they tend to soften and flow upon heating. They remain soluble and fusible under many cycles of heating and cooling, and they are recyclable. And most linear polymers and those having some branch structures with flexible chains are thermoplastics. And in case of individual polymer molecules, they are held together by weak secondary forces, van der Waals forces or hydrogen bonding or dipole-dipole interactions. These are easy to repair by welding and solvent bonding. They have unlimited shelf life as they don't undergo polymerization during storage or in processing unit. One of the disadvantages, they are prone to creep, so they can be used at higher temperatures. Examples are polyethylene, polystyrene, PT, PVC, etc. Next you have thermosets. These are network type of polymers and they are creep resistant, so they are less sensitive to temperature. They attain permanent hardness due to cross linking and then do not soften and flow upon heating. And they are non-post formable, so if they are formed once, they can't be changed their shape into some other by just heating it. So they are obtained in a soluble or fusible stage in the early or intermediate stage, but once they get cured, they will be infusible and insoluble. And they are excellent thermal and chemically stable once polymerized. And the disadvantage for this one is they are brittle and non-recyclable, and examples consist of bakelite, epoxy and urethane, etc. Now, one of the processes included in thermoset plastics is curing. So in this case, it is the process of transforming thermoset resin, which is soft, solid or viscous state, into an infusible insoluble polymer network under heat and pressure. So firstly, in this case, your viscosity keeps rising. So viscosity of system rises until gelation occurs. At this point, two phases exist, a gel phase and a sol phase. The gel phase is gelled part and the sol phase can be extracted with solvents. The amount of sol phase present decreases as the reaction progresses further, and upon further reaction your vitrification, also known as hardening, it occurs. So as seen here, your monomers, they firstly in liquid state, so viscosity keeps on rising, so you will be getting gel and sol part. Then finally you will get hardening of the polymer. In case of addition polymerization reaction, so in this case your monomer units are attached one at a time in a chain like fashion to form a linear macromolecule, and it is characterized by the presence of a few active sites which react and propagate through a sea of monomers used for the synthesis of thermoplastics. First is initiator decomposition. So your catalyst, it breaks into two parts, 2R star. So this catalyst, it starts a chain reaction. So first chain initiation. So R star will react with monomer and it will form RM1 star. Now chain propagation, in this case your monomers will keep on reacting with this radical and it will keep forming these various chains. Now at end part, your various chains having these radicals, they will terminate reacting with each other, leaving this catalyst as it is. Next up we have condensation polymerization reaction. It involves more than one monomer species, and the monomers can react with any nearby monomer. So in this case, no special activation is needed to allow a monomer to react, and there will be a small molecular weight byproduct such as water or ammonia that is eliminated or condensed. So typical reaction consists of first step and second step. So in this case, one of your monomer, it will react with another monomer, giving a byproduct. Now this small molecule that is formed, it will keep on reacting with some monomers, continuing this reaction until a chain forms. So in this case, the thermosetting polyesters, phenol, formaldehyde, nylons, these all are produced by condensation polymerization. Next up we have advanced polymers. So as I told earlier, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, this is advanced polymer. So in this case you have linear polyethylene that has extremely high molecular weight, up to 4 times the 106 gram per mole, and the trade name is Spectra or Dyneema, and it shows an extremely high impact resistance, outstanding resistance to wear and abrasion, and very low coefficient of friction, a self-lubricating and non-stick surface, very good chemical resistance to normally encountered solvents, and excellent low temperature properties. It also shows outstanding sound damping and energy absorption characteristics. So that's why it is used in making these pipes and gears, etc. And one of the demerit is mechanical properties that diminish rapidly with increasing temperature. Next we have liquid crystal polymer. So it is used in making your LCD screens. So it is aromatic polyesters based on p-hydroxybenzoic acid and related monomers. So they are in the liquid crystalline state, being neither purely crystalline nor purely liquid, and it is considered as a new state of matter. Now it is capable of forming regions of the highly ordered structure known as crystalline regions while in the liquid phase, but regularity lower than the solid crystal. It is extremely reactive and inert, unreactive and inert, and highly resistant to fire. It is used in liquid crystal displays on digital watches, flat panel computer monitors, televisions, and other digital displays. Next up, based on various applications, your polymers are defined. So when your polymer is in film forms, so these are various properties they possess. So polymeric films, they have thickness between 0.025 to 0.125 mm, and they are used extensively as bags for packaging food products and other textile products. So these have low density, high degree of flexibility, high tensile and tear strength, and these are resistant to moisture and other chemicals. Examples include polyethylene, polypropylene, and cellophane. In case of foam type of structure, then these contain a relatively high volume percentage of small pores and trapped gas bubbles. So these are commonly used as cushions in automobiles and furniture, as well as in packaging and thermal insulation. Next up, in form of coatings. So ingredients and coating material are usually organic polymers, which are classified as paint, tarnish, enamel, lacquer, and shellac. It is applied to the surface of materials to protect item from corrosive or deteriorative reactions, or to provide electrical insulation, to provide objects appearance, and in case of when they are in fiber state, then long filaments having at least 100 to 1 length to diameter ratio, it is known as fiber, and it is subjected to mechanical deformations such as stretching, twisting, shearing, and abrasion, and this is widely known in the textile industry for being woven into fabric or cloth. Next up, we have adhesive. So it is used to join a large variety of materials such as metals, ceramic, polymers, and composites. Some of the advantages are that they are lighter in weight, and they have ability to join dissimilar materials and thin components as well. They have better fatigue resistance and lower manufacturing cost, but they are limited by their high temperature usage. Natural adhesives include animal glue, protein, starch, rosin, etc., and artificial consist of epoxy, polyurethanes, cyanoacrylate, and acrylic polymers. And some of the applications are in aerospace, automobiles, sticky notes, etc. Next up, elastomers. So in case of amorphous polymers with viscoelasticity, they have very weak intermolecular forces, low Young modulus, and high failure strain compared with other materials. So for a polymer to be elastomer, it must not easily crystallize, and molecular chains should remain naturally coiled in the unstretched state, and chain bond rotation must be free to readily respond to an applied force, and it should have delayed plastic deformation. Examples include silicone rubber, butyl rubber, nitrile rubber, polychloroprene, neoprene, etc. Some of the applications include in gasket seals, noise and vibration dampers, car door seals, etc. This is the behavior of a polymers, and it shows there are different behavior of polymers based on their molecular structures. For some case, if they are brittle in nature, then they will be showing very low ductility, and they can have very high ductility when they are in form of elastomers, and if they have certain crystallinity, then they show in terms of plastics, they can show this type of behavior, but they'll be always having elastic modulus less than metals. Now plastics, these are malleable and can be molded into solid objects of diverse shapes. Some plastics are very rigid and brittle as shown in curve A, and others are flexible, and these are used in general purpose applications and may be either thermoplastic or thermosetting. Applications of some of the polymers. So these are various polymers which are used in our day-to-day lives. So in case of polyethylene, it is used in making toys, battery casings, bottles, carry bags, etc. And polystyrene, it is used in making thermal insulation, packaging, consumer goods. Polyester is used in making clothing, robes, bottles, etc. Acrylics are used in making outdoor signs, lenses, aircraft enclosures, etc. Nylon is used in making clothing fibers, conveyor belts and fasteners. And polypropylene is used in making syringes, petri dish, plastic furniture, etc. And Teflon is used in making non-stick pan, Teflon tape, bearing coating, etc. Epoxies are used in making metal coatings, composites, adhesives, etc. Next up, you have two types of molecular weights for polymers. First is number average molecular weight. So in this case, you divide your entire molecular weight of polymer to the number of molecule chains. So total weight of all the polymer molecules in a sample is divided by the total number of polymer molecules in a sample. So this is the formula that you use. And next up, you have weighted average molecular weight, and this is based on the fact that a bigger molecule, it contains more of the total mass of polymer sample than the smaller molecules do. So here you have to multiply your molecular weight square times the number of chains and divided by molecular weight times number of chains. Degree of polymerization. So in this case, you divide your number average molecular weight to the repeat unit, number of repeat unit molecular weight. So here number of atoms times the atomic weight will give you repeat unit molecular weight. Example consists of, for example, in PVC, if you have weight given as 21,150 gram per mole, and you can easily calculate the weight of repeating unit PVC. So using one chlorine atom and your some carbon and hydrogen atoms, then you find out it is 62 gram per mole. So you divide this to the entire molecular weight and you find out there are 341 molecular chains. So as the degree of polymerization keep on increasing, you can see the melting temperature of the polymer also increases. So as the number of polymer chains will keep on increasing, there will be higher number of bonds present, so that will lead to increase in melting temperature. Next, you have polydispersity index. It is just the ratio between your weight average molecular weight to the number average molecular weight. So if this difference is very high, so then you will be having larger the polydispersity index, there will be the broader the molecular weight. Now next up, you have monodispersed polymers where all the chain lengths are equal, such as in case of protein, then you will be having PIS 1. In case of step polymerization reactions, you typically have PIS 2, while if it is chain polymerization reaction, then the value will be between 1.5 to 2. Next you have copolymers. So when your polymer has two types of monomers present, then it will be copolymer. So when there is more than one type of mer present, the molecule is a copolymer. And copolymers are a common type of material used commercially. And examples of copolymers are ABS, polyethylene vinyl acetate, and nitrile rubber. Next you have copolymerization is the method by which a copolymer is created from various types of monomers. It is frequently used to enhance a change particular characteristic of plastics. So you'll be getting a characteristic of two type of polymers in one polymer. So some types of copolymers are graft copolymers. In this case you will be having, for example, A type of entire chain, and graft you will be having a branch of B type of polymers. In case of block polymers, you will be having this type of blocks. So A is block of this type of polymer, B is another block. So these type of block will be present in your chains. Next up you have alternating. In this case AB, this type of structure will be present. In case of random, you won't be having any such repeating as shown here. So there will be entirely random. Next up you have physical states of polymers. So classification of polymer material based on physical state. So it can be partially crystalline state, it can be viscoelastic state, it can be highly elastic state, or it can be glassy state. So depending on glass transition temperature, so where your material is existing on that range, it can show various types of these physical states. So if it is highly elastic state, then these will be for rubbers, and in glassy state, organic glasses from polystyrene, PMMA and PVC, these are glassy states. So in case of your liquid material, when it is cooled, then they are most likely to show partially crystallized polymer. It never shows a perfect crystal. Perfect crystal is only found in case of metals and ceramics. Crystallinity in polymers. So in case of crystalline region, as shown here, it is your crystalline region in case of polymers. So it is orderly arrangement of molecular chains, and high crystallinity means higher density, more strength and higher resistance to both dissolution and softening by heating. And density of crystalline polymers is higher than amorphous polymers due to close packing. And the degree of crystallinity in polymers, it ranges from completely amorphous to about 95% crystalline, but it is never 100%. And the metal specimens are always entirely crystalline, and ceramics, they can be either totally crystalline or totally non-crystalline. So this is your amorphous state. So your crystalline region is always surrounded by some amorphous regions as well. So that's why it is always 95%, never 100%. Now crystallinity in polymers. So degree of crystallinity is affected by these regions. So first is rate of cooling during solidification. So if you are cooling your polymer very fast, then there won't be any time for alignment of chains. So this will cause reduction in crystallinity. Next up you have chain configuration. So more the side branching and cross linking will lead to more the resistance to the with restriction to prevent the chain alignment, which will lead to lesser crystallinity. Thus, linear polymers, they are more likely to have high degree of crystallinity and higher density, and most network and cross-linked polymers, they are almost totally amorphous. Next up, examples of highly crystalline polymers are polypropylene, nylon, Kevlar and Nomex. And amorphous polymers is PMMA, polycarbonate and polyisoprene. Now this is how your percent crystallinity is calculated. It is density of your perfect crystalline region times the rho S. S is your specimen, rho A is your amorphous part. So S minus A divided by S times C minus A. Next up, tacticity. So different atomic configurations for the same composition. So for example, you have same type of atoms that are present, but the configuration in your chain, this will decide tacticity. So this tacticity may affect the some molecular weight and other rigidity of the polymer. So tacticity is the way pendant groups are arranged along the backbone chain of a polymer. So these benzene rings, they will be showing different type of arrangements. So in case of isotactic and syndiotactic, you have regular geometry facilitates the fitting of adjacent chains, thus they show more crystallinity. In case of atactic, as shown here, it is poorly crystalline due to irregularity of side groups, and also larger the side bonded groups of atoms, it will show lesser the tendency for crystallization. Next up, you have glass transition temperature. So by definition, it is the temperature at which the polymer experiences the transition from rubbery to rigid states. And below glass transition temperature, your polymer becomes hard and brittle like glass due to the reduction in motion of large segments of molecular chains with decreasing temperature, and Tg is different for each polymer. Now glass transition happens only to polymers in the amorphous state. If your material is 100% crystalline, it won't be showing any glass transition. So here, if you're cooling your liquid polymer very fast, then it is more likely to solidify in glass state, and if you cool it slower, then it will undergo crystallization and it will form a crystalline solid. And these are various polymers and their glass transition temperatures. So if your glass transition temperature is in negative, then it will be having a flexible structure at room temperature, and if it is, for example, 100 degrees Celsius or so, then it will exist in brittle form. Now factors affecting glass transition temperature. First is your chain length. Chain length, if it is higher, it will depend, so Tg is proportional to the molecular weight of the polymer. So chain length increases, molecular weight will also increase and Tg will increase. Chain stiffness, and it will increase if you have double bonds, aromatic groups or bulky or large side groups, then it will also increase your glass transition temperature of polymer. Next up, plasticizers. So addition of plasticizers reduces Tg, and cross-linking reduces chain mobility, so Tg will be increased. Copolymers, so Tg will be based roughly on the weight fraction of each material present in the copolymer. Effect of temperature on polymers. So in case of, if you keep on increasing the temperature up to melting point, how your elastic modulus changes, that is shown here. So in case of amorphous, you see a transition region. This is known as transition region for amorphous metals. So before this it shows brittle type of behavior, and here it shows a soft transition. So here your polymer will act as soft. In case of 100% crystalline, they don't show this transition region. And in case of effect of cross linking, so if you keep on increasing cross linking with melting, it shows less decrease in elastic modulus, and if there is no cross linking, then it keep on decreasing, your elastic modulus keep on decreasing up to melting temperature. And these are various states. So at higher as elastic modulus, depending on that your polymer can be glassy, leathery, rubber and viscous type of polymer. Next up, viscoelastic deformation. So here you are given two types of these three types of behaviors. So first, if you are applying load, so this is time of application and time of release. So you applied load and then you released load. So based on this load, how your material will show strain behavior. So based on that, it can be totally elastic, it can be viscoelastic, it can be totally viscous behavior. So based on that, if during only application of load, if it shows some strain and then it again regains its initial state and shape, then it will be elastic. So it will be in case of metals. In case of viscoelastic behavior, your polymers, then you see on application it will show instantaneous strain in your material. Then with time it also shows increase in strain, and as you release your load, then it will show some instantaneous strain will be regained. So it will come up to its original shape to some extent, but also show some permanent deformation as well. In case of totally viscous behavior, within entire time it will show some viscous type of behavior, so it will show increase in strain, and this strain won't be at when you release the load, it won't show any it won't show initial shape and your length of material. Next up, in case of so amorphous polymer, they may behave like glassy polymer at low temperatures and a rubbery solid at intermediate temperatures above Tg, and if you further raise temperature, then it will show viscous liquid. And for intermediate temperatures, polymers, they act as rubbery solid, which shows viscoelastic behavior, this type of behavior. Fracture in polymers. So polymers show low fracture strength compared to metals and ceramics, and the fracture mode in thermosetting polymers which are highly cross-linked is brittle in nature, and fracture mode in thermoplastic polymers, which are both brittle and ductile, are possible, and the crack forms at the region of localized stress concentration, scratches and notches or sharp flows. And the factors that favor brittle fracture, they are temperature reduction, increase in strain rate, sharp notch presence, and increased specimen thickness. So these are various types of behavior, as I told earlier. So if your polymers are soft and flexible, then they will show very high ductility but very less strength, and they will show intermediate strength and ductility if they are tough and ductile, such as ABS and nylon. If they are very brittle, then they are rigid and brittle, then they are melamine and phenolic, these type of polymers. In case of amorphous thermoplastics below Tg, they act as brittle, so they have low fracture resistance, and above Tg they are ductile, having high fracture resistance. So plastic yielding will be seen prior to fracture, and the fracture phenomena is known as crazing in case of polymers. So the crazes are the regions of localized plastic deformation, and these form at highly stressed regions associated with scratches, flows, and some molecular inhomogeneities, and it leads to the formation of small and interconnected microvoids, and the region between microvoids are fibrillar bridges, which are here. These are the fibrillar bridges, and under load these fibrillar bridges they elongate and starts breaking, and this microvoids they grow and merge, making this, as this crack propagates, so the crack propagates perpendicular to the applied tensile stress. Next up, fatigue. So in case of polymers, they undergo fatigue failure under cyclic loading, and fatigue behavior is more sensitive to loading frequency than to metals, and at high frequencies at or relatively large stresses they can cause localized heating which softens the material, leading to failure. So this is the fatigue behavior for various polymers. Next up, factors that affect mechanical properties. First is temperature. So as seen here, you keep on increasing the temperature, then you see your polymer starts becoming more ductile in nature compared to brittle at lower temperatures. So an increase in temperature produces decrease in elastic modulus, so we can see elastic modulus is reducing as well. Reduction in tensile strength, your highest maximum point is also reducing. Enhancement in ductility. Next up, molecular weight. So for many polymers, tensile and impact strength increases with increasing molecular weight due to increased chain entanglements, and viscosity also increases. So from here you can see, as molecular weight or degree of polymerization keeps on increasing, your mechanical properties they keep on increasing. Viscosity is also increasing, and tensile strength and impact strength are also increasing, and in both the optimum conditions these are the some commercial polymers. Next up is degree of crystallinity. So if you have higher crystallinity, then it will show higher the close packing, leading to high density and more strength and higher resistance to the both dissolution and softening by heating. In case of cold drawing, so it is analogous to strain hardening in case of metals. So if you keep on stretching or elongating your material, it will show some cold drawing type of behavior. It is used in the production of fibers and films, and the molecular chains they become highly oriented, and it leads to some anisotropic behavior in this case. So in one direction it will have different strength compared to in other direction. So the properties of drawn material are anisotropic. So in perpendicular to the chain alignment direction, your strength is reduced. So this is the your stress strain behavior in case of polymers. So first you keep on increasing, then you get a maxima. In this case it is known as yield point, yielding of polymer. Then it keeps on decreasing, and your this stress remains almost same, which is known as cold drawing part. So as in this case, your chains these keep getting highly oriented in one direction. So up to this point it shows this orientation, then oriented molecular strength. So in this case your strength keeps on increasing, and then After this, it shows a fracture. So that's it from okay, that's it. Now I will repeat the questions once. So in first question you had to tell what was the molecular structure present in thermosetting polymers. So it will be cross-linked or network type of polymers. Next of which of the following is example of thermoplastic material? It is electric installation, others are thermosets. Next you have addition polymerization. So all of these can show addition polymerization and chain polymerization mechanisms. So free radical, cationic, anionic, all these are mechanisms that can be used. Next is you have to find out degree of polymerization. In this case you have to divide entire molecular weight to the molecular weight of just the one unit. So you will get how many number of monomers that are used in making this polymer. So answer will be around 960. In this case it is given 10 monomer units are used, so this will be your degree of polymerization. In case of your condensation polymerization, you will be having nitrogen, oxygen or these type of atoms present in the chain. So second and third will be correct options. Now based on application, all are based on application except synthetic, which is based on origin. Ninth is which of the following is thermosetting polymer? So phenolic resins are thermosetting, others are thermoplastics. In this case you have to use 1 upon Tg equals to weight fraction of first monomer divided by your glass transition temperature of one monomer plus other weight of your polybutadiene divided by your Tg of polybutadiene. So using this you have to convert these in Kelvin, and it will be around minus 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's it from my side.